Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to play a little bit with my Yaesu. It's the FT-857 and I'm going to find out if it is a D or a non-D version. Because they have two and you can't see it in the front. You can't see it on the sticker of the serial number on the device itself. So we're going to find out which one is it. I did a similar video on the 897 and there I mentioned somewhere yeah, it's like 12 or 16 versions. Well, I actually found for this model 14 versions. So even though this is already a pretty old radio, the 857 is very popular. They started building them around 2001 and I think they kept building them all the way up to 2014. And in between they made all these little changes to improve the radio, and that's why there are so many versions. But officially by Yaesu they just say we have two. It is the D and the non-D. Yeah, it is very popular. And that's because it is the so-called check in the box. It has almost everything in one. And this one is even smaller than the 897. Because the 897 was a little bit bigger, higher, so to say. Because it was not only a mobile radio, it could also be used as a portable radio. So they actually had compartments for the battery that this one doesn't have. But these radios are pretty similar. I like the size that it is smaller, to be honest. So check in the box, yes it is HF 0 to 30, 50 megahertz, 2 meters and even 70 centimeters. Here it is from the front. It is still dirty, I need to clean it. This is just how I got it. You see it is not that high, so it's amazing that they could fit everything in. And because of that, they needed to find a place for the buttons almost everywhere. So not only we have buttons here on the top, here in the bottom, here a few, and even around everywhere. So you need to get used to this a little bit, to use all these buttons, and also with the complicated menu structure. But once you get used to it, it is a nice radio to operate. When we look at the radio and we try to find the type number, we can find it here on the top and it says yes, FT-857. But the only thing is the D model will show exactly this, so you can't see it from the front. Well, then you would maybe say, well then just have a look at the sticker in the bottom. Well, we have the type number here also, but on the D and the non-D it will show exactly like this. So the question is it a D or not? So without switching it on, you can't really see if it is a D or a non-D. Well, the most easy way, and if you are lucky enough to still have the original box with the original serial number on the box, you will find it there. Well, if you don't have the original box or you're not sure it's the original box, you can try to find it out through the serial number. And then you just have a look at the first few digits. Well, first we see the 3, and the 3, that is a year. And this radio is built between 2001 and 2014. So this 3 could mean it is a 2003 or it is a 2013. But the E is the month and the 06 is the batch number. And because the batch number is low, it's 06, it is 2003. Okay, we are a little bit closer to determining what it is, but we're still not there because the non-D is built between 2001 and 2003. And well, guess the D version is built from 2003 to 2014, more or less. So there is some overlap in 2003 and my serial number is a 2003, so I'm still not sure. Okay, so the box didn't help us. If we don't have the box, the serial number leaves us in doubt. 2003 is exactly a year that both models were made. Another big difference is the DSP, the digital sound processing, that was integrated in the D version, but it was optional in the non-D. So we can do a quick test. Switch the radio on, push the DSP button. Do we hear the sound change? Then it most possibly has DSP. if it doesn't have, it is a non-D. That is easy. If it does have DSP, we could still have a non-D version, but with the optional module, and then we need to open it to make sure. So let's try some of the DSP options then to see if it works. We push the DSP button, we have here the dynamic noise reduction, the digital noise filtering, and the digital band filters. So let's just push some buttons and see if we hear a difference. I quickly took the other radio I have. This is the FT-100, and here you can actually hear the difference with the DSP. This will take noise reduction, noise filter. So the 857 did have the DSP in the menu, but when you clicked, just nothing happened. And we could hear the difference on the FT-100. When it does have DSP, you can actually hear that. So let's open up and let's see. Let's have a better look. Let's open it carefully. There is a speaker wire somewhere, so we need to be careful not to break. Yeah, here it is in the back. Okay, I can pull that loose. Let's see the board. So for my radio, it's already answered. I don't have DSP, so it's very clearly a non-D version. But what if you have a version with DSP, but it's still a non-D? What will it look like? And what if you have a D version? So I found pictures on the internet. I will show you my radio, and then I will show the differences. Oh, that's funny. When we look at that serial number, it was batch 6, and when I look here at the speaker, it says M6. So that could well be that it also is that batch number. So here we have the main board, and if we look here, we see here a V6. Maybe it's the same, it's that a lot or batch 6, but we also have here a 12, and that could be a version 12. Well, I made a list. So what I did, I took the service manual and I just went to the revisions that I could find of the main board, of the block diagram, of everything I could find, and I tried to make it into a list. And then they came up with these lot numbers that I mentioned. And well, if we look at mine, I had the 2003 according to the serial number, so that would be somewhere in the last. What is a bit confusing is that the lot number 6, because we can find 6 on the speaker, we say V6 of the main board, but it also says 12. And so still I would be in one of these, and which it is, I don't know. If I'm lucky, it is the board of 12, because starting from the board 12, they added changes into the PLL, well, throughout the D version. You see, they changed it multiple times also. You also see that starting from the D model, after batch 18, they started to do another ref unit as well. And after that they changed it again. I don't know what they have changed. Sometimes it's only just one component. But here I know, because this was the normal reference, and here it was the TCXO. Other changes they did, it's more or less the same as the 897, is that at some point they changed the PA board, the end stage. They first had transistors, and later they went to FETs. And here you can see they had 3 sort of type of boards, but they had a little bit different components throughout that. So you see here they actually had 14 combinations with the combination I could find, so maybe it's even more than that. So we already sidetracked a little bit. So we know also that the D and the non-D has a different reference. So we can also have a look at that. But first we focus now on the DSP. Well, the reference I quickly mentioned, we focus on that later, is here in the back. But here is the area where the DSP would be. So I will turn the radio and zoom in a bit. So here is the DSP area, and when we zoom in, we can find here the connector and the switch. So what you do, you put in the module when you have it, and you flip the switch, and then it's all activated. I don't have the module in my radio, but I have some pictures, and it will look like this. So clearly you can see the module there, and also that the switch is flipped. And what does it look like then in the D model? On the D model, you won't see this connector, you won't see this switch, and you maybe see a little bit of solder where the connector could have been, but in the bottom of the PCB we can't see. I think the position is about here, is the DSP processor. And I found another video that people also say, well, this processor in the D model is also a little bit flatter. This is still a little bit, well, it's like 3-4 millimeters high, and the other one would be less high. But if we look at this list, there have been 6 main boards, but all the main boards in the first series have been the non-D. So yes, that could be also one of the reference, because the first D model in 2003 was already made with version 2, and later they had the 3, a 4, a 5 and a 6. So yeah, that could also be something. Then we go to the reference right here. And we have the reference right here. And in the later models, in the D, it was more precise. I think this one is 1 ppm, and then it became 0.5 ppm. And I don't have one. I maybe have a picture, but I do have the module. So I have the model right here. It's the same one as the 897, and I think even in the 817 and the 818, it's the same. And it just has this TCXO. And you just replace it. But having this one doesn't necessarily mean you have a D version, because you can easily see it is replaced. You just pull it out and push in a new one. So someone could have changed this. So opening up the top of the radio, having a look at the main board in the area where the DSP is located, then you can see, does it have a connector or not? And then you know if you have a DSP, the D version, or not. The TCXO is also, but it is optional, so people could have replaced it. It is a universal unit for the 817, the 818, the 897, 857. It is all replaceable, so they could have swapped it before they've sold the radio to you. So that is not a good point to look. You need to look at the DSP area. Okay, let's open it up. Here it is. And here we have a good view at the standard transistors. So that is clearly one of the first models. Later you will see that some are replaced with FETs, and this one is usually then a square one. Well, this is one of the first versions. Oh, we know because it's a non-D. Here are all of them are transistors. And in later version this one is FET, and I'm not sure if this one is also. But I will show you the different PCB layouts. So I'm also looking on this PCB, and here it says also the number 16. So that would be the lot or the batch 16. So that is still in this line. So it still means, so even the PA is still the first version. So very clear, doesn't have a DSP. Also looking at the board and the batch numbers, it is really a non-D. But still, after a good clean, it looks amazing. Reception works even though there is no DSP. I cannot do these little corrections with noise reductions, but still it receives good. There is one bug with these radios, D and non-D, is that at some point you can get these zebra stripes. This display is perfect still, but that is some problems that you may find. So if you're interested in my list I made with all the revisions, then I will leave that also for download. Also, if you have a problem with your display, I found one on AliExpress, different little stores that sell that. I will leave the links for that also for this one. Depending on the store, this is the TCXO module, the improved one. If you are thinking, wow, a check-in-the-box radio I would like, but I don't want to buy something that is 20 years old, then Yaesu also has the 991. Then there is also this 891. It looks very similar to this one, only the display is bigger, but the housing looks exactly the same. But this is not a follow-up because the 891 only has H, F and 50. This is the modern version of the check-in-the-box, still available, so you don't need to buy a 20-year-old radio. Also 0 to 30 MHz, 50 MHz, 2 meters and 70 centimeters, all mode, and it is the FT-991. If you think, oh, this 991 radio is also pretty cool, I have check-in-the-box, not 20 years old, maybe it's a good thing to look at the second-hand market. Be aware there are two versions, it's just on the front, so it's easy to spot. That is the 991 and the 991A. The A version is newer, it has a live spectrum scope, as you saw, all these peaks in the bottom, and the A doesn't have that. It does have the big screen, but it is just less live as it is here. But some people will sell the non-A version as a B2, because if you look on the sticker it says 991 B2, but the B2 is not a newer version than the A, it is really the non-A, so be aware of that. So that is how you check if it's a D or a non-D. If you have a DSP module left somewhere laying around, please leave it in the comments or send me an email. I would be very interested, of course. Thank you for watching and hope to see you next time.